There is a Bem-te-vi in your backyard that probably already knows how to tell you apart from a stranger. And if you know how to pay attention, it is using this to warn you about things you aren't seeing. This common bird that sings its own name in your backyard has an alarm system that few people know how to interpret. But this only works because over time, it has learned to recognize you. Most people think that a Bem-te-vi is just watching out of curiosity, but it uses this knowledge in a much more practical way than it seems. Today, I will show you how to recognize when the Bem-te-vi in your backyard is practically sounding an alarm and why it only works because it knows you so well. There is a specific sound it makes that is different from anything you've ever heard and that most people ignore without knowing what they are missing. Stay until the end. Whether you follow the channel every week or are just arriving now by chance, this video works on its own. This specific Bem-te-vi has already appeared in previous videos here, where we showed how it watched you for months until deciding to trust you. Today we go further into what this recognition allows it to do for you in practice. Territorial birds like the Bem-te-vi build over time a detailed knowledge about who frequents their space. Movement patterns, schedules, risk levels, all of this gets recorded. What might not have been clear is that this archive doesn't just serve for it to decide if it trusts you, it also uses this trust to communicate with you in a direct way. The Bem-te-vi is above all a territorial vigilante. A good part of the day it spends checking the perimeter of your backyard. Fence, roof, tree, clothesline. Every high point is an observation post. This surveillance habit has a clear function: to detect anything out of the ordinary before it becomes a problem. A strange cat entering, a snake in the grass, or a hawk flying overhead. Ornithologists call this sentinel behavior. Territorial species usually have a repertoire of different alarms, each linked to a type of terrestrial, aerial, or unknown threat. In the Bem-te-vi, this repertoire is particularly rich. The routine call, that calm Bem-te-vi, Bem-te-vi, is completely different from the emergency call. And here's the point that connects everything. For this alarm system to work well, it needs to know how to distinguish the normal from the abnormal. And the normal of your backyard includes you. You are, to it, part of the expected scenery. And that is exactly why when something really deviates from the pattern, it reacts in a way that you can notice, because it's different from the way it reacts to you. Imagine the difference between a neighbor who greets you with a casual wave and that same neighbor yelling, "Look over there," with their arms stretched out. The Bem-te-vi has the equivalent of this in the form of sound. Let's get straight to the point. What are, in practice, the alarm signals that you can learn to recognize? Signal number 1, the repetitive and accelerated call. The normal Bem-te-vi has an almost musical spaced rhythm. The alarm call comes in a rapid sequence without pause at a higher volume. If you hear its name shouted several times in a row, without the normal interval, that is already different from the routine behavior it has with you. And here comes the detail that few people know. The rhythm of the alarm changes according to the threat. Alarms for predators on the ground tend to be deeper and more spaced out. Alarms for threats from above, like hawks, are higher pitched and continuous. This means that if you learn to notice the difference, the Bem-te-vi in your backyard is, without realizing it, giving you information about where to look, to the ground or to the sky. Signal number 2, its posture changes completely. During the alarm, the body stands erect, the neck stretches, and it positions itself at the highest available point, from where it can see everything. If the Bem-te-vi is perched on the clothesline, it climbs to the highest point of the roof and stays motionless. Staring fixedly at a specific point, it is tracking something. Follow the direction of its gaze. It's not random. Bem-te-vi on alert orient their entire body in the direction of the threat, a visual indicator of where you should look. Signal number 3, it summons company. Bem-te-vi in high alarm usually attract other backyard birds that join in, making noise in the direction of the threat, a behavior called mobbing. If you notice several different birds making noise at the same time, flying agitatedly in the same direction, this is no coincidence. It's a chain reaction that often starts with the single alarm of the Bem-te-vi. Think of a snake moving silently in the grass of your backyard. You from inside the house don't see it, but the Bem-te-vi from the top of the fence sees it perfectly. Field observers have already described Bem-te-vi triggering a continuous alarm and diving at snakes. Active territorial defense, not just a passive warning. This pattern, continuous alarm, repeated dives near the ground, is one of the most reliable signs that there is something crawling near where you walk. The alarm for an unknown cat, on the other hand, usually has a different pattern. The Bem-te-vi maintains a safe distance, but continues the alert call in a sustained manner, sometimes for minutes. And for threats from the sky, like a hawk flying overhead, the pattern changes again. The call becomes higher and shorter, repeated in an intense sequence, and the Bem-te-vi hides instead of exposing itself in the air. Being seen is the worst possible scenario. You don't need to memorize each pattern with expert precision. Just paying attention when the call changes in a noticeable way is already enough to know something in your backyard has changed. And here is the most important point of all this. This alarm system only has practical value for you because it already knows how to differentiate you from the rest of the world. If it didn't know how to identify your presence as safe, every movement of yours would generate the same level of alarm as a snake or a strange cat. Reserving the loud alarm for real threats and not for you is proof that the recognition has become a real utility. And there is a fourth, rarer behavior that takes this function a step further. Some observers report Bem-te-vi that direct the alarm specifically in the direction of a person in the house, as if calling their attention to the threat, not just alerting the backyard in general. You sitting near the window and the Bem-te-vi lands nearby, looks at you, lets out the alarm, looks again in the direction of the threat and repeats, almost as if it were showing the way. Science is still asking if this is intentional directing or just the result of you being, most of the time, in the most visible spot of its territory. But the pattern intrigues those who study this behavior. And this leads to an inevitable question. If it is somehow taking care of your backyard for you, what does this say about the relationship formed over these months? Think of it this way. You never asked to be warned. It never asked to be fed or protected. But without any agreement, two different beings started to take care of each other's space. This is not domestication, nor friendship in the human sense. It is something simpler. Two surveillance systems, yours and its, operating together without either having formally decided this. And think of the reverse. How many times have you protected someone without that person asking, just because you noticed something they hadn't seen? Warning is one of the most discreet ways of showing care. The Bem-te-vi is doing exactly that, without a speech, without a grand gesture, just a different call at the right time, repeated until someone pays attention. Science does not confirm that there is an intention of care in this, the way we understand care, but it also doesn't rule it out, and the practical effect on your life is real either way. Going back to your backyard, what should you do with this information from today on? The next time the Bem-te-vi lets out a call different from the usual, faster, higher pitched, or more sustained, it's worth stopping for a second and paying attention. Observe its posture too. Erect body, fixed gaze, a higher position than normal. These three signs together indicate that it detected something out of the ordinary, and you don't need to do anything special to keep the system working. Continuing to be the predictable presence that you already are is what guarantees that it continues to differentiate you from real threats. This is the practical result of being known too well by a bird in your backyard. It not only knows who you are, it uses this knowledge to warn you when something isn't right. The recognition that started as observation turned into real utility, and this happened without conscious effort on your part. Just by you having been for months the same reliable person as always. The next time you hear that, Bem-te-vi, Bem-te-vi, shouted too fast, too loud, don't ignore it. It might just be the wind, but it could be it doing what it decided to do for you months ago, taking care of what it considers its own, including you in it. Tell me in the comments, have you ever noticed a bird in your backyard warning about something before you noticed what was happening? If you haven't yet seen the previous videos about this Bem-te-vi, the link is available. This story gets stronger when you see how it all started. And if you want to keep discovering what the birds in your backyard know about you, subscribe to the channel. Every week there is a new species, a behavior hidden right in front of your eyes. See you next time. If this story changed the way you look at the birds in your garden, Please subscribe and like the video. We are uncovering the natural history that often goes unnoticed. Let's cultivate the future together. The next treasure of nature will be revealed soon.